at a coffee cake the same. So a couple years ago, my dad went to my uncle's house to come visit, but he was super hungry. He asked my uncle if he had any snacks. My uncle, of course, said yes. Then my dad went to his kitchen and saw that he had tasty cake coffee cakes. Boy, he was excited because my dad loves sweets. He went to go sit down to watch the game with my uncle, but when he took a bite of the cake, he said it tasted really moist. He ate half of it, then noticed that some of the crumbs on the tasty cake disappeared. When he took a better look at the cake, he realized that the tasty cake crumbs were maggots. I made my teacher cry. Story time. When I was in second grade, I had this teacher and she was the devil, and we're gonna name her Miss Jackson. And the reason I call her a devil is because she would say really mean things to me to my face. She would be like, Ty, stop talking like that. You sound like a little girl. Or, your favorite color can't be pink. You have to choose one of the boy colors. And since I was so young, I didn't understand how serious these were, and I didn't know I can get her in trouble. And I would go home sad like every single day. Eventually, my mom noticed and she asked me what was wrong. So I told her some of the things that Miss Jackson would say to me, and my mom was mad. And my mom was like, the next time she says something to you, say something rude back. And if you get in trouble, I'll handle her from there. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Now, Miss Jackson was a heavy lady, so I knew if I said something rude to her, it would be about her weight. Though we don't body shame around here. We don't do that, okay? So I'm in school eating lunch with my friends who happen to be girls. And Miss Jackson comes up to me and she's like, shouldn't you be eating with the boys? So I looked at her and I was like, shouldn't you be eating a salad? And the lunchroom started laughing and then she started crying.
So last week I got my wisdom teeth taken out and I thought I was prepared, but there is something that nobody told me about. I had to find out the hard way. My wisdom teeth were impacted, so it was kind of a more complicated surgery. Because I'm kind of freaked out with medical stuff, I didn't build up the courage to actually look at my mouth until last night. And big mistake. Apparently, after you get impacted wisdom teeth removed, it leaves behind a black hole. Not a normal looking missing tooth. Like it's just a hole. Like you can't see the bottom of it. There is just a literal hole in my mouth. So after I looked at it, I was freaking out and I thought I was gonna faint. So I asked my fiance Anthony to take a look at it because he had his wisdom teeth taken out last year, like to see if it looked normal. So his teeth weren't impacted, so I guess his didn't look like that. I kid you not, he looks into my mouth and passes out. This man literally fainted. Like, wow, Anthony, thanks for making me feel better. Anyway, apparently it's like a totally normal thing, but I just wasn't expecting to see that.
Okay, so story time. So let's start from the beginning. I have two brothers. We'll call the oldest one Mark and the youngest one Robert. So my brother Mark moved to New York for college, so once in a while we go and visit him. My parents decided before my summer break ended to go and visit Mark for like a little vacation, because why not? So my parents are the type of people who like to get to airports hours before our flight. So we get there, go through security and buy some snacks. The lines were long, so it took up some time. We headed in our area and we looked through the windows and it was thundering and raining really hard. A few minutes later, the speakers come on and they say our flight is delayed. So we're like, okay, whatever, we'll just wait, because what else are we going to do? So around 2 hours pass, my dad goes up to the front desk where our gate is and asked if our plane was ready. He said no, so we waited a little bit longer. Then my dad asked again, and they said no again. And this happened for like 4 more times. So finally they said yes, we're literally waiting for you guys. You're delaying the plane. Like, huh? Like for part two. Part two. We grabbed all our stuff, ran to the gate, went through, and went on the plane. Once we got on the plane, everyone was so mad. Before we even stepped foot on the plane, everyone was yelling at us, booing us, saying it's our fault they're late to whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's our fault the plane is delayed. There was even this one point where a lady started clapping, saying, finally, you guys made us wait long enough. My parents got mad and kind of started yelling back because she was being rude to the point where we all almost got kicked out. But luckily we didn't. But it literally wasn't our fault. The person in the front desk wasn't telling us anything till the last minute. But anyways, we put everything away, we sat in our seats. My mom was a little embarrassed, but I just didn't care. And neither did my dad.
Story time, how I didn't know I was deaf until I was 16. So the school district that I grew up in basically did hearing tests every single year. And for as long as I could remember, I was failing those tests. But they would always ask me one question after them. Have you been sick within the last few weeks? I always was sick when I was younger, so I'd say yes. And they'd say, oh, your sinuses are probably just clogged up. And I was like, whatever. I'm in the 7th grade. And then I'd go on about my day. Kept happening over and over again. This happens from elementary school, middle school, all the way up until my sophomore year of high school. So my sophomore year, I get called up to the nurse's office after the initial hearing test. My nurse was like, hey, you failed the hearing test. And I was like, yeah, what else is new? That was just normal to me. So she was like, you know what, we're going to retest you here. So I retest right in front of her, and I fail again. I explained to her, like, this has happened every year, like, it's not really a big deal to me. And she was like, no, it kind of is a big deal, like, this happens every year. I was like, yes. Have they ever contacted your parents? No. So she calls my mom in to talk to her. My mom comes in, they talk. Part two. Part two. So I get sent over to a primary care doctor to get a hearing test there. Fail it. They send me over to an audiologist. Fail it. They send me over to a fancier audiologist, and they do a different test on me. They put these little things that look like earbuds in your ears. I don't even know how they do this test, but basically they were just shooting super loud noise in my ears and measuring something inside my head. I don't know. I was like, cool, they're gonna realize that, like, there's nothing wrong with me. Fail it. Worse than before. So I start getting concerned. They couldn't give me a diagnosis yet, so all I knew is that my hearing is worse than I thought, but I don't know why. So they send me over to an ENT surgeon. He diagnoses me with otosclerosis, which just means the little bones in my ears that are supposed to conduct sound aren't conducting sound properly. This doctor gives me two options. I can either get hearing aids, or I could get the surgery where they replace those bones with synthetic bones that may help my hearing. The recovery process was kind of long, and it could go wrong and I could lose my hearing completely. Almost 4 years later, I love my hearing aids and I love being a part of the deaf community.